The leader of al-Qaeda is urging his followers to launch small-scale attacks inside the United States. In an audio message released after the 12th anniversary of the 9/11 hijackings, Ayman al Zawahiri said further attacks will weaken the US economy. He's also urged Muslims to boycott American goods and to stop using the US dollar.
To continue bleeding the US economy, we have to keep the US in a state of uncertainty and tension, always wondering when and where the next attack will come from. All that's needed are a few small attacks here and there. We defeated America using guerrilla warfare in Afghanistan, Pakistan, Somalia and Yemen. Now we should take this fight to the US itself.
So what threat does al-Qaeda pose to the US? Well, 9/11 was the group's last major successful attack on US soil. But this man, Umar Farouk Abdul-Muttalab, known as the underwear bomber, did try to blow up a US airliner in 2009. But his attempt failed, as did several other al-Qaeda-inspired actions. For much of the past decade, al-Qaeda and its affiliates have instead backed insurgencies against US interests in countries such as Mali, Somalia, Yemen and Afghanistan. Earlier this year, the US shut down 19 of its embassies in the Middle East and Africa, anticipating a possible al-Qaeda attack after a communication from Ayman al Zawahiri was intercepted. For more on this, let's talk to Richard Barrett in New York. He's the former coordinator of the UN's al-Qaeda and Taliban monitoring team. Very good to have you on the programme. First of all, let's look at this latest message from Zawahiri, this call for small-scale attacks. What was your reaction to that?
Well, I thought he was making the best of a bad hand, really. I don't think the al-Qaeda organisation has anything in its locker that it can do more than small-scale attacks within the United States. I mean, certainly some of the affiliates look a little bit more powerful, but so far as any forces under Ayman al Zawahiri's control, I don't think they exist at all, really. So this was a sort of rallying the remaining troops type call, you know, encouraging individuals, small groups to do things against the United States. But I'm not sure that he feels he has very much chance of immediate success.
And why is that? Is it a lack of leadership on his part?
I think there's a lack of leadership. Yes, I don't think he's particularly charismatic. I don't think he's been able to combine all the groups in the way that Osama bin Laden was able to do. But I think it's also just that the whole business of al-Qaeda has rather gone out of fashion, particularly in the United States, where maybe 100 people are under surveillance now by the FBI, but probably no more than that, and I should imagine very few of those are real al-Qaeda supporters.
So do you think this latest message will be attractive to many people? I mean, is al-Qaeda getting any new recruits these days?
Well, he mentioned the Tsarnaev brothers and their attack on the Boston Marathon in April. And he's right to a certain extent in pointing out the economic consequences for the United States of such attacks. I mean, there's a huge reaction to that. And the United States is still determined that there should be no terrorism at all in the homeland, you know, which is really, I suppose, unrealistic. So he's right in the economic consequences, and he's right really also in pointing out that al-Qaeda is more of an idea than an organization, and that for so long as the United States goes on attacking the organization, it won't really deal with the idea.
But then when we look at it in that sense, and we look at the possibility of these so-called lone wolves attacking within the US, is this not a harder tactic to counter, to find where the potential threats lie?
Well, you're absolutely right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think that until the United States and the rest of Western society really can get over that fear of terrorist attack, which these things are tragedies, of course they are, they're awful, but they're not strategic defeats in any sort of a way. They're nothing like the scale of 9/11. So long as we can absorb that sort of attack and shrug it off and carry on, I think we'll manage to undermine the appeal of al-Qaeda. But if we react as we have done in the past, then I think it still has attraction for lone wolves to create that sort of mayhem with very little effort.
Richard Barrett, very interesting to speak to you. Thanks for joining us there from New York.